What's going on, you crazy YouTube fools? Got off work today and we are in preparation for what we've got coming up on June 6th. So I'll try and edit this video and get it out tonight to where it's, a day ahead of time for y'all. But I've got to get my boats ready. I've got 2 days from right now, 2 evenings, to get everything ready. I don't really know what I'm going to bring, but as we go through setups, we can kind of figure out what we can and what we can't bring. But I also got some new parts that just came in from Offshore Electrics, and I'm going to show them to you. And then we'll start on the process of getting some of the boats together, getting them ready, checking the struts, the cables, the grease, all that stuff, because we've got to charge a lot of batteries and bring a lot of boats. I'm going to try to set the airplane up to where we can put the pontoons on it and fly it for the folks. So it'll be fun. So here's what I had ordered, and this was I purchased it on a whim. If you know all of the K&B 7.5 stuff, I decided to go with a newer style outboard drive. And I honestly thought I remembered reading in his diagram that it had a 0.187 cable in it, a 3/16, but this one is a 0.150 cable. So not really sure, but this is smaller than the K&B 7.5. Okay, let's see. It's not really that much smaller, but considerably less weight. So this will be what ends up on this vintage boat in the long run. I do plan on doing the 7.5 electric conversion and run that, right? But I have plans for twin K&B 7.5s on a boat. And I have 2 outboards and 2 motor couplers and all that to where we can run twin. But when I do that, it would kill this boat because I'm taking, the outboard off of it. So that's what we got this OS outboard for this boat. And then we can get like a nice 36 mil motor for it, maybe a 10 shock motor, I don't know. But doesn't need to be crazy powerful or crazy fast because it's got the 150 cable in it. So we've got to be a little diligent and vigilant on what we choose there. But I just wanted to show you that. And what else did we get? So this was actually the need for the order. Was a cable pull system for the throttle. So we've got some cable, and I honestly thought it was going to come with some plastic sheathing, which I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't. But it is what it is. We needed new cable, longer cable. So that's what that was for the throttle on that nitro motor. Here is the 3.5 K&B conversion plate that also works with this small OS setup. And then I got some motor supports. So these are 3. I didn't need 3, only needed 2. But these are going to go in this boat here for the long can, the 4070 TPs. These are going to be supports for the rear of these when that build gets started. So we'll just go ahead and plop that in there. And I got some rear bushings. So these bushings are for the shrimp rigger, the new shrimp rigger, Project Century. So I've got to pop out and drill the strut for the hull here, which is right here. And we've got to convert this from 4mm to 3/16. So there's just a lot to do. Here's the K&B. I like the K&B 7.5 because it's got the big 3/16 shaft. But with the hard bend in these things, I'm just not sure how reliable they are to begin with for either a fat prop or high RPM. I think there's a happy medium there, and we probably just need to stick with it. But outboards are cool. They're just not going to be nowhere near as fast as something like that, So the next time we take this out, we're going to try it on 8S. I'll probably bring it with us to the lake, but we probably won't run it on 8S. Actually, I might. If it's like perfect conditions out there, the boat runs so good that you know, it kind of stops at around 68 miles an hour on 6S with the current setup, being that it's so heavy. But we were only getting 166 amps out of that motor with what we did in the last video. And that's a 265 amp max motor. So we've got 100 more amps that we can throw out of it. We can prop up and we can go to, I guess it says all the way up to 38 volts or 40 volts or something like that with that kV evaluation. But we'll just run it on 8S, and that'll be roughly 34 volts. And it'll probably be spinning it fast enough, faster than the boat's going to be able to handle either way. But yeah, we'll probably bring this mono. We'll bring that mono. We're going to bring Daredevil. So I've got Daredevil. We'll bring that cat. We'll bring that cat. And we'll bring that bird. We'll bring this mono. We'll bring this mono. Let's do that. The Dominator deserves more. The Dominator is such a great boat that I think what we should do, because it's such a great running hull, I'll just go ahead, we'll open it up. I had other plans, and I'll share them with you as well, but I'll divert my time and energy into this boat up and running, and I'll see what good motor combination setup that I can make happen. Maybe try to put it back around. Yeah, that would be cool. I can put the 2000 kV motor in it, and then this and the Chaser 32 will have the exact same setup, which would be cool. We can do some head-to-head action. That's what we're going to do. And then it's the Dominator. Hopefully nothing bad happens, but we can maybe possibly set up a race between this and the Chaser on an exact same setup, and we can run them on 4S and we can run them on 6S or whatever we want to do, you know? So that's what I'm going to do. I love talking to y'all. I come up with some stuff, you know? And just talking out loud. That's what we're going to do. We'll take the water pump out, we'll take the Hydra out, and we'll take this big Poseidon motor out, and we'll set this up for basically a head-to-head bash setup. So it will be fun. I want the guys to run boats, and that's why I was going to bring the recoil to let them run it. So I'll let the guys run the recoil. If they're good at it, then I'll let them run these boats. And I was thinking about it earlier, and you tell me what you think. So rather than having like two boats side by side and you take off and you worry about them hitting one another, what happens if you like created an oval? So you got one buoy at one end and one buoy at the other, and you have to race around them in an oval. Well, what if both boats start in the middle? One starts on the back stretch, one starts on the front stretch. And while you're going around buoy A, the other guy goes around buoy B, and you race like that until either 2 minutes elapses so you don't overcook a battery, or the guy who's in front will catch up to the back of the other guy, and that's when the race is over. So when one boat passes the other is when the race is over. That seems like the most optimum like thing in my brain, to where two boats don't collide, because men of any age, whether you're 12 or whether you're 92, we have competitiveness, and if they ain't got nothing to lose, they don't have a $1,100 boat or a $700 build. It's not there, so they're not really going to care. I'm sure they would, but that's how we can prevent them from colliding. Just my thought. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Would y'all like to see some nursing home residents race some boats? I think it'd be cool. Even if they don't, it would be easier for me to film like that, because I don't have to theoretically film them. I can just film the action on the water. I don't know how people are going to respond to being filmed on YouTube. I had ordered these like magnetic cameras that you clip onto your shirt. I'm sure some of y'all have seen them on Instagram recently. I ordered 2 of them, and I thought it was really good for my work content, or for any content in general. You just walk around and have the camera. That way you get a different POV. Different point of view, different camera, and it's not noticeable. Just clip right on your shirt, It's magnetic from the inside, so it just looks like you've got this weird little thing hanging from you, like a vape. But that's what I want to do. I'm going to show you next what I was going to do, but now we're going to focus on the Dominator. But now, since the Cheetah is so finicky when it comes to its setup, I wanted to check and make sure we had our rear struts set exactly right. And what I'm shooting for here is between 0.6 or 1 degree down. So 0.6 is what I had learned that was like the sweet spot on speed. Let's see, I wish it would hold itself. Okay, so we're at 0.9 there. 0.9 of a degree negative. Now let's go over here to this side and check this. Now, the one we just checked was the reverse cable, right? That was the one that I had to fix the stuffing tube. Let's see if, okay. So this was the setup that I tried running in the last video. I had them dead nuts level and it kept blowing over. So, and that was my intention. I wanted to try a dead nuts level setup. Doesn't work. Got to have some sort of downward angle. So I've tried it at 0.6 before. Since the other one is 0.9, let's go ahead and set this one at 0.9. It'll give us a little bit more downward angle. Shouldn't keep, you know, it shouldn't lift the nose of the boat as much, but we're only talking a fraction of a degree here. So it's not going to make that much of a deal. And another thing I'm like a little frustrated with is the boat. Watch this, watch. So we've got a high point, and the high point is right here on the back. In the future, eventually, I'm going to sand that little back tit down. I just don't want to mess the hull up. So let's see what my angle is if I push down on the boat. 0.2 of a degree. So shouldn't really make that much of a difference. But regardless, let's go ahead and bump this down to 90 or 0.9, and then this boat will be set up. Cool, so I just took the liberty and adjusted it, and we are smack dab on 0.9. So I think we're going to be good to go for that. I don't think anything else theoretically needs to be done. Next we have Daredevil. Just kind of want to show you this if you've never seen it, and we'll kind of go over our angle setup and stuff like that. That way y'all in the comments can let me know, like, you know, what angle that you run your cat and stuff like that, because I just don't know. I don't run this boat enough to know. We've got a 4082 Leopard 1800 kV, Oxydine 200 ESC, and the boat's fast. It is fast. It's not stupid fast, but definitely mid-70s. With this prop, probably not. We'll probably get, you know, 55 out of it or something like that. It's got kind of a noisy driveline because we are not running a liner, and it does get a little water up in the boat through the driveline. So I try to seal it right here to prevent that. I don't know. I did listen to y'all in the last video and you said raise it up some. So I have since raised the strut to be kind of a little bit above the ride surface, if you see that right there. So we'll see what that does. I think I have also a little bit of negative angle on it. Let's go ahead and set it on the table, and then we'll see what angle the strut is currently at. Alright, so now we've got it on the table. Let's go ahead and take our little caliper here. We'll level that out. Make sure she's there. We'll hit calibrate. Okay. I will flip her completely upside down. I gotta zoom y'all in order to turn the light on for you. Oh, check that out. It actually sticks from the cable. So we are 0.8 degree negative, right? Because if we went this way, it zeroes it out. So you go off of these arrows on the side. It says pointing down. This side's pointing up. So that's a little bit of negative strut angle. and it's kind of high up out of the water. So not really sure how well that's going to do, but regardless, the boat's going to look cool. And I figured these guys might appreciate a pretty paint job, and we'll go over the boat with some spray and wax and get them all prettified. All right, I say this one's pretty much good. We'll probably run this on like 4S. You know, I've got some 2S packs we can throw in there. It all depends on the water at the lake. How smooth or rough it is will depend on what brand, what model, all that. So we're at the mercy of Mother Nature on that. All right, let's jump to the next one. So now we are to the Chaser 32. Let's go ahead and open this up. One thing I know I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of silicone and put it on these tubes. Because when I drilled these holes, I drilled them maybe a little too big. But I feel like water gets in here. Maybe wrong, but I feel like water gets in there. Can't remember if I have a liner in here. Maybe not. Maybe that's where water's coming in. Or around the hatch locks, which I probably shouldn't have put hatch locks on it, but I had them. My intention was to put a nose scoop under here, and I had seam sealer around it. It just didn't work, you know, it just didn't work. But the boat handles really well, but, you know. Now, we do have to figure out a prop selection. If we're going to be running this and the Dominator on a similar setup, we need to also be fair and run a similar prop. So before all is said and done, I think what we'll do is go through the prop selection, and we'll pick two props that are nearly identical in overall pitch, and we'll select that one. So not really much to do to this. I think it's good. This has the new W-fly receiver in it, so we should be good there, because if I'm going to allow two people to run my boats, if that happens, then we have to have two controllers. So I'll give one the new W-fly and one of them the old W-fly. That way we can actually make that happen. I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, well, how can I do that if I have so many models on one controller? Well, you can't. So then you'd have to move stuff around. So this will be part of the new W-fly, which I've actually got two more of those receivers. So we'll figure it out. We'll formulate a game plan. So Chaser 32 is done. I'm going to go ahead and go get some cleaner, and we're going to wipe this thing down and clean it up a little bit. Cool. So now we've got the Oxidine Dominator here, and we are going to be disassembling it. So you can tell I've already got the Hydra out. And next thing we've got to do, we've got to disconnect the water pump, take that off. This is the Poseidon motor, 3000 kV. I think it's a 4098. I don't know, maybe it's a 4092. Can't really remember, but crazy drag race motor. Didn't really originally want the 3000. Poseidon makes a 2650. That is a 4098, and that was the one I wanted. And it's just a regular old, you know, typical wrapped rotor, not the metal. But that was the one I ordered, and then I waited like 3 months, never came in. They changed the order, said, oh, we don't have this, we can do this. So I just said, screw it, and that's what I got. I had other plans for this, but I don't want to ruin it. I really wanted to run this on 3S and see how fast we could get the Dominator on a 3S setup. I thought that would be pretty cool. I did run this in one video in the Dominator playlist with the 3000, and it was just stupid. It was stupid fast, just stupid high RPMs. I didn't want to kill the motor, and we had this desolder. So regardless, we're going to take it apart and make it more of a functional setup. So let's go ahead now, and I'll start the process of getting the cooling lines off. We'll get this motor out, and then we'll go through what motor selection that I have available, and we'll put one in it. Let's go ahead and pull this puppy out. All right, got the collet. Go ahead and pull that out. That's good there. Okay, now the ring. Looks like I'm gonna have to slide the cooling jacket off. This is a Poseidon cooling jacket, which is honestly kind of cool. I think it looks similar to the leopard ones, but this is a little different. All right, let's take this to the motor collection and pick out a motor. All right, so let's see. Let's show you this. So this is my Poseidon 1521 Pro, and this is also a 1521 Pro. And check that out. I didn't know that. I didn't know that these motors were literally the exact same, just different kV value. I think this was the first upgraded motor I had purchased for the Spartan way back in the day. And that was the only cooling jacket that I had at that period of time. But that was a cool motor. You know, still the same, high RPM, yada, yada, yada. But really, really free spinning. Really free spinning. You can feel the magnetism in it, but not as much as something like these. So this is a Triple S 2000. This is a Leopard 2650 kV, TP 1650. I think this is a 1350. This is a 1650. So these two are going to be like twinsies. It's kind of crazy. One of them is a newer design. Look at that. Check that out. I didn't know this. Look at the shaft, how far that shaft sticks out, and then versus that one. You know, one of these is a newer model, so you can see the older model, and this is kind of unique. See the difference? Got 4 mil and 3 mil connections on the new motor, and the old motor only has 3 mil connections or screws, and a completely different end bell. Check that out, completely different. Wow. Very unique. Very unique. So we could run that, but I don't think we're gonna. We could just say screw it and go back to the old Oxydine motor. This has a lot of time on it, but still has excellent magnetism. 6-pole motor. Probably could use a bearing replacement upgrade type deal. And then what do we have here? That's your typical King Bow 1600 kV. This was also a motor upgrade that I purchased for the Spartan back in the day, and it's got really good magnetism on it as well. But these motors just don't pack as much power as, say, a Triple S motor. You know what I mean? So rather than going through the whole process of moving stuff around multiple times, I think our Triple S motor is going to be our best option, just based on everything. You know, we've got 6 mil bullets on it already. I've already got conversions I can do with that. Now let's figure out an ESC. So we could run like a 120 Spectrum, which honestly probably has more overall power than the Sea King 180, but I think this is already designed and set up for it. So this would be an identical setup, you know? Same cat pack, same ESC, same motor, different boat. So I think that's going to be our go-to. I always said months ago that I would love to do that. I would love to have, let's make sure these, yes, okay, so they still are the same. I would love to run similar setups in the Dominator and in the Chaser 32, and then we can do some head-to-head shootout, you know what I mean? So this way, we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here. We're putting the same setup in it for others to run, and then when we get done with this here in the near future, we can run the same setup out at the big speedrun pond, and then we can kind of do a split screen race. We'll do a couple different sets of packs. We'll do 4S, we'll do 6S, and we'll try some different prop variations and so on and so forth, which will be the next thing that we have to discuss. So let me get this motor put in, and I'll be changing around some cooling jackets to where I can get a motor support and all that. But then we'll get this in, and we'll shoot for a fair prop selection. And just like that, the new setup is complete. Sweet. It actually fit pretty good. Got it packed in there nice and tight on that side. Got the little Sea King 180, giant capacitor bank. We're good to go, man. Let's make sure this fits. Sweet. Alright, nice and good. It's going to be a whole lot lighter of a setup too, because I don't know how much difference in weight that is, but it's definitely a lot. Definitely a lot. A light boat is a fast boat, you know what I'm saying? One thing I'm going to have to do, so these nipples here are nice and tight, but these are loose. I ended up using one of the rocket motor cooling jackets because I got to run the back hoop because there's not 2 screws here. There's only 1 on each side, so you support the motor so it doesn't cock and, you know, mess up your flex cable. I had changed this whole drive assembly from the original. That way I could use the exact same flex cable for the impulse. The stock impulse length and the Dominator length are the same. Just the Dominator cable, the stock one had, you know, a hard end with grub screws on it, which we changed to the collet and never had an issue. We also changed to the Impulse 32 stuffing tube. If you remember, ordered an Impulse stuffing tube. It's bigger, thicker, and it has a really nice liner in it. I don't know. Most people wouldn't buy a pre-bent stuffing tube for a specific boat, but I promise you, that is a weird design for the Impulse, and it is a very, very nice stuffing tube. Short, but awesome. So, yeah, I think we're good. I think we are good. The only thing I gotta do, I gotta get some zip ties, and we'll just say screw it, and we will just zip tie these on to hold them down. I think that'll be my best bet. There we go. Yeah. Cool, cool. We're getting them together, guys. Getting them together. I know this is gonna be a long video. Well, guys, looks like we've got most of the fleet ready. The only thing I've really got to address now is the Impulse 32, which that's kind of good to go already. I've got a lot of packs to charge. So these right now are the 2 sets of 4S packs I have charged. I'm probably going to bring, I don't know, probably like 16 batteries realistically. I've got to charge these 7600s, which these are 3S, the others are 4S. These are 3S, I might bring those. These are the big 11,300s. Only reason why I'm charging those is because I haven't ran them in a long time, and they're such a big milliamp hour that if somebody runs the boat, it'll keep it slow and it'll run for a long time. That's my theory behind that. So now what we've got to do is we have to figure out a good prop selection. So we've got all these props. I don't think anybody's ever seen all of my props, which honestly this probably isn't even all of them. But let's go ahead and bust this open and we'll formulate a game plan. Looks like those are probably going to be too big. I do have a 4216 Dr. Props we could run. We'll set that off to the side. We'll go ahead and open this up. We'll open this one up. This is supposed to be my Cheetah box. So we're going to have a lot of left and right props in that box. And then we come over here to the H2O box. This is where we get a lot of similarities. So you've got 3 A45s. So you've got your Oxydine A45, you got your Zip Kits A45, and then you've got your High Rake Offshore Electrics A45. All theoretically the same prop,
just made and sold by different manufacturers. And if you kind of look at them, they all look somewhat different. Like this one and this one seem the most like similar, and then over here on the Oxydine, his looks a little bit different. So I don't really know, you know. And then this over here, this is the cheap Chinese version. You can definitely tell the difference in the CNC markings on this and the center hub. You got nicer center hubs on these, and that's probably the prettiest. And then this is a 545, a Z545, but I think the hub split somewhere down where the drive dog goes. But I don't know. I was trying to find like a 1.4 pitch, something like that. Could rock this one. It's kind of a small prop for that. I think this is a 16-15, honestly. I don't think that would be fair to run a 16-15 against a 17. Oop, oop, oop. 17-16, okay. But I think what we'll do for the Oxydine, then we can come over here and look at these. Got an Octora 637. Then which one is that one? That's a 640, X445, M445. And then that is a 645 and a 648. That's a honker of a prop right there. And then we've got some detongued props. So we could run like the X445 and the M445. You know, we could do that. I think that would kind of give it some pep. Another thing, I don't know where it's at currently, but I do have a voodoo prop. Ow. I do have a voodoo prop. Let's see, is this... No, that's the 11. So, I must have the 45mm voodoo prop on the gas-powered boat right now. Because this one here is very similar to this one here. So if we look, this is the Octora X447. Yep. And if you look at the blade profiles on these, they're like damn near identical. Isn't that crazy? So crazy how similar these things are. It's almost like they bought this, molded it, and then made it out of stainless. Can't tell me that's not almost an identical blade profile. It's got a little bit different tongue right here. It's like they cut into it. Here they didn't cut into it. They just kind of went straight into the hub. Which I think you could make this one look more like this one. But still, very similar. But 47 mils too big for that setup. Let's see, those could just run some cheap CNC props, but not sure. Let's check my CNC get up and see if we've just got some regular old 45s. Okay, this is a batch that I had. There we go. That's the Traxxas prop from Dr. Props. Ah, here were some of the ones I was looking for the other day. I didn't know where I'd put them. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. That's the 1817. We're going to try this on the Impulse. And then you've got a 4519. We've got two 4519s. I just think that's just too much pitch. We're going to be under a stupid amount of cavitation, and I don't want a stupid amount of cavitation. We could run these. These are just kind of bare bone basic 3-blade, but we do have a H42. That's pretty cool. I think right now, to be most fair, we're just going to run the A45s. I think that's going to be the most fair. Alright, so the Oxydine prop to me is probably going to be the more expensive one, so we're going to run this one and this one. I think that'll be good. Yep. Cool. We'll put these on
the Chaser and the Dominator. Alright guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. We went through all 4 boats and the plane and everything, got the props on. All I've got to do now is pretty much charge batteries and not break anything, not dent anything, and hopefully not crash anything. I really hope the June 6th outing, meeting everybody, turns out good. Super excited, been waiting a year to do something like this. And I don't know, I'm just excited to share the hobby with them folks. So hopefully y'all will come with me, and I'll get some content, and we'll make either 1 or 2 or 3 videos out of it, or one really long series. Who knows? Who knows? But all I got to do is prep that, and maybe even put the pontoons on that, and then we'll be good to go. So I've got 1 more day to get it all done. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And sorry it was long, but some people like long videos. Me personally, I love long videos, especially if somebody's talking. So I'm gonna get off here. It's late. We'll see y'all later. Peace.